What is up, everybody? Alex from WMD here, back at you again, and this time we're going to be talking about master effects. In particular, I'm going to be showing you how to use the AXYS to integrate a reverb with tails into the system, and I'll also be going through a little bit with scalpel and muscle and how I am using those on the master. So yeah, let's just dive into it. So first things first, you can see I have my patch here. Before I deconstruct the reverb side, I'm just going to show you the sound and the effect that we're using. Alright, so as you can hear, I've got this big reverb tail just mellowing out after I've turned everything off. And that is we're able to do that because of the way I've patched the AXYS here. It's a pretty simple thing. I just wanted to show the reason why I like to use AXYS. So first things, we'll just take apart this patch over here. So what I have going on here is I have the master send and return going into an overseer and then back out. I'm not using this muscle on the master. This muscle is actually doing some sidechain ducking for that FM voice and the bass voice. So what you heard was essentially drums and bass line coming and chords coming out of the assimilator. Chords are being filtered by the overseer. Bass line is being filtered and enveloped by javelin. And then the FM is the FM kind of weird sounds is the two spectrums, carbon and javelin. Then I have two auxiliary send and returns. Those are going to the chronoblob and the magneto. So magneto is doing more of the dubby kind of reverbed out delay sounds. And then chronoblob is doing more of just like a digital repeated delay kind of sound. And then on the master, like I said, I have the overseer. And then I'm going to be running into the AXYS to get this reverb with tails, the scalpel, and then I do have a muscle up here on the output. So what I'm doing with that is instead of using the send and return, I'm using the actual outputs. And I'm going into my effect rack up here, and then I'm using the output on the IntelliGel case to get to my recorder. There's a couple reasons I'm doing this. One of the reasons is literally just kind of laziness. I like to be able to move this case around a lot. Sometimes I don't need to take the effects rack with me. And so it's really easy for me to keep this overseer in the send and return and then just not have these when I want to just use this case. Argument for going and using the send and return, huge one, is when you use the send and return, you can actually use your headphones to monitor the mixer and hear what you're adding with the effects. So if I were monitoring out of the mixer, I wouldn't be able to hear these effects the way that I'm doing it because I'm just going master out of the mixer into this stuff and then on. So that's one of the reasons to use the return on the mixer itself, but alas, I am not doing that. All right, so we're going out of here, and this is my output chain, so I can just go into the muscle real quick just to show you what's going on. And we'll go out of the muscle. That's going into this output module here. Start up the clock. Now you can hear what's going on. I've got a little bit of compression going on here. You can see every time my kick hits that I'm getting gain reduction. I have the limit switch set all the way to the right, so we're not adding too much gain. We're not getting too much pumping. We're kind of using it as a limiter. This is just to make everything glued together a little bit more. So here's what it sounds like when it's out. And here's what it sounds like when it's in. So just kind of turns that kick drum down a little bit, just kind of squashes everything a little bit. All right. So first I'm just going to demonstrate what it's like to use this AXYS reverb, which is an awesome reverb, by the way, kind of an older module, might be hard to get, but sounds really great. So we're going out of the output here, and I'm just going to run this into the muscle. Whoa, way too crazy. All right, so now you can hear we can add some reverb. And this is cool if you just want to add like, you know, some room noise to the mix that you've got going on. Add kind of an atmospheric thing in the background. But if we want to do a big wash like I was doing earlier, we turn the decay up, and then as soon as we want to stop doing that, we just turn the mix down and we just lose it. We don't have any of the tails. And unfortunately, with the AXYS, there is no like mix that happens before the signal. It's an after dry wet. It's a post reverb dry wet. So that just means you're not going to get the there is no send level. So what we're doing is we are creating a send and return with the AXYS. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to run our output signal into these handy HOSA Y cables. I'm not sure what they are called. I don't quite remember, but they're really cool. You just plug the cables into one side. You can do stackable. Any sort of passive mult would work. Any sort of buffered mult, doesn't really matter. So we're just going to run that into the right side of the first channel of AXYS. The reason we're using the right side is because we want this to be a send, and we want to turn up the amount. So if we put it on the left side, you'd have to turn down. So we're putting it on the right side. You've got nothing on the left side, so you're basically mixing from 0 to having signal come out of those outputs. Then we're going to take the other side of the mult. We're going to run that into the left side of AXYS. And we're going to take our output of the first channel, and we're going to run that into the reverb. So that's going into the input there. Now we're going to go out of the reverb into the right side. So now we basically have a dry wet mix between our reverb signal, very similar to the one up here. But we need to be able to mix between our full dry signal and the wet signal. So that's why we're using this. And then we're going to come out of the AXYS. I'm just going to run that into scalpel. And then we'll go out of the scalpel. Whoops, wrong inputs. Then we'll go out of the scalpel and go take that up into our muscle, which is plugged into the output. Okay, so now we have a dry wet mix on the bottom of how much reverb versus how much dry signal. And then on the top, we have a send level of how much how much of that dry signal we're going to send into the reverb. So let's bring our drums up here and just hear. So we'll turn this guy up. Now you can hear that we've got more reverb. And then as we turn that off, we have those tails still riding out. So this is a really cool thing for like breakdowns of tracks, just to add kind of a noise swash. And then like maybe momentarily just add a little bit. Just kind of a big boom kind of thing, you know? And then maybe we'll take out the lows. Add some so we don't get so much low end. And then it's a really cool way to just kind of end the set, right? We can just come through here, we're mellowing out, add a bunch of reverb, stop the clock. And then you walk away and the sound is still going. So really cool way to also end a set. So this might not be an effect you want to use all the time on every single transition, but it is a cool thing to just add a little bit more depth and just character to your music. You can shorten up the decay, add some room noise, and then bring it out. But just being able to have those tails is super important. The last idea is just to use it as a transition between one song that has a certain kind of feeling and another song that has another kind of feeling. So to show that off, I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to make a different pattern. And just because I want it to be fast, I'm going to do more of like the dance music kind of thing. And then we'll do like a bass line. Hear what this sounds like. All right, that's good enough, right? So we're going to go between those two feels. And we're going to use the reverb swash to get us there. So we might just like take the kick drum out, add some reverb. We'll go to our next song. We'll just take the bass line. So kind of a cool transition piece. So that's how I use AXYS to add kind of an extra send and return, stereo send and return for the master reverb. The last thing is the scalpel. And really what I'm using this for is just kind of darken up my sound a little bit. So if we go back to the halftime feel, here we go. And we'll just listen to it bypassed. Back on. Barely taking anything out. So what I've done is I've just gone to the high end here. You'll hear high end at Unity. I just like to darken it up a little bit. So I just took some of those highs out. That's pretty much it. Sometimes I'll leave the interface here so I can kind of tune this to the room and to the sound that I want. Sometimes I'll go over to the low band and then I can just do kind of a high pass thing. It's very similar to Overseer, but just another little performance tool. But what I think about Scalpel is just having one on the master, just to kind of give you that master character you're looking for. You know, more vintage lo-fi sound. Just take out some of the lows or take out some of the highs. Just make it sound a little bit less high-end harsh, and just kind of round it off. That's what I like to do with it. And yeah, that's pretty much my master chain. So I have the Overseer here, and that's on the send and return. Then I'm going out of the masters into the AXYS for my basically variable send and return for the reverb. So I hope that gives you some ideas on how to use AXYS in your own setup, and yeah, just gives you some inspiration. As always, please like and subscribe, and we will see you all next time. Peace.